Science Academy, been assistant principal at both Proviso East and Proviso West, a teacher here at PMSA, a teacher over at Proviso East, so been in the district for 17 years.
Where you got the principal?
Pretty much all.
Hi everybody, my name is Lou Pavone. I am the new Deputy Superintendent for Operational Services. This is my 9th week in the district and the 33rd year in education, 7th year in the district office capacity, 20 years as a building administrator, was a teacher and an assistant principal, a dean, substitute teacher. I did it all, worked my way up. I'm happy to be here. So I'm happy to be here.
Hi, my name is Lou Arce. I've been teaching here, this is my 19th year. I teach mathematics and computer science. And before that I was in business. Spent 25 years building 2 companies and selling them. So I'm an entrepreneur by trade, and I'm here because I'm interested in the policies that help our students get on track.
Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Snaka. I am the district IB coordinator for International Baccalaureate. All 3 schools in Proviso are diploma program authorized. This is my 9th year in the district. I started in 2015. So I started as a French teacher and then moved into the IB role. So I'm excited to be here today and work with all of you.
I am
Dr. Carvalho.
Dr. Carvalho.
Oh, that's okay.
That's okay. I am Bessie Carvelis. I have been in the district for, this is actually my 11th year going on into the district. I have been in education for 40-some years, a long time, in administration for 35 years, and teaching for the rest of the time, all in high school, my entire career. And what else do I know? I have 8 grandkids. And I love it here. It's been family. We've accomplished a lot. I was principal over at PMSA, and I was there for 7-8 years, Rebecca. We became a Blue Ribbon school. I was chief innovation officer, and I've been assistant superintendent, and I've been principal West, and I've been executive director, and I've been, oh my God, I've had so many titles. Okay, I guess, and now superintendent.
I am Brenda Horton. My career is human resources, or has been human resources since I've been out of college. I have held roles in public schools as executive director of human resources and director of human resources, and I have been in the business office since September.
Were you in the human resource office before?
Yes, I was. I was in human resources until September 6, 2022, and was transferred.
I've seen her name a million.
Okay, I'm Sandra Justin, school board member, short, sweet, to the point. Next.
Hello everyone, my name is Susan Smith. I've been in the district since 1999. I started off as a teacher's assistant, I went to a secretary, now I'm teaching special ed.
Gay Chase, I'm a taxpayer.
Please stop.
Okay.
What's your title?
I'm a retired administrative judge, federal administrative judge, but I'm a taxpayer. Spent 11 years as a school board president for District 92 in Broadview. Currently I'm a police and fire commissioner for the village of Bellwood, and just have an interest in making sure that the children in the district are getting what they need, but I'm also interested in seeing the district improve its academic standard because it impacts my ability to sell my house, okay, hugely. Because people don't want to buy property in the township because they have to send their kids to private schools, so I have a real interest, and also want to make sure we're supporting my Sarah, Sandra Hickson, who we think is the best school board member that there is.
My name is Debbie Brooks. I'm not in education. I'm in the medical field. I'm a retired director of nursing from Cook County Department of Public Health. I have been in the Proviso area since '77 in Bellwood, now in Broadview. So I'm very much aware of the school systems around. Here to support Sandra Hickson, my sorority sister. I like going over policies and procedures, and when there's things that has to do with kids, adults, and children, I'm very much interested in. So, and I can bring a different perspective to things outside of all the educators.
My name is Tanita LaShore. I'm a 25-year resident of the village of Bellwood. I currently work for the village of Bellwood as an HR director. I had 3 kids who graduated from Proviso West High School. I've seen the deterioration of the standard of education, and therefore I'm a very concerned taxpayer.
Hi, my name is Daphne Walker. I'm a Bellwood resident. Been at District 209 for 15 years. Started off in different capacities. I was a security, went from security to nurse, from nurse to grade level principal. Now I just started at Proviso West, which is my home school actually. That's where my kids went to school. That's why I started volunteering. I'm a community leader for my church in Hillside as well. So I think the school from this level to this level to this level, not from this level to this level to this level. So my kids, they have graduated, but they're still our future that still we have to take care of.
And you are?
Sorry guys, I'm a little sick. My name is Corey Hobbs.
On the mask, Miss Corey?
No, I'm not like that,
Okay.
Miss Walker.
Okay.
My name is, I wouldn't have come if I was gonna get what you said. My name is Corey Hobbs. I'm the birth parent to 4 children, adoptive parent to 2. All of my kids are Proviso students or will be Proviso students. I currently have a senior here. So I'm highly invested in the turnout of what Proviso is going to look like. My kids, I have as young as 4, so I'm here for the long run. I volunteer a lot in the district before I came on as parent engagement coordinator. Even after I'm no longer parent coordinator, I'll still be super active here in this district. So anything that I can do to support the parents, anything I can do to support the community. I'm highly invested in workforce development for parents and for students, and just anything that is going to be a benefit to this community.
Dr. Blair, you don't have to.
I'm Lindsay Chase. I'm a resident of Bellwood. I grew up in Broadview and graduated from graduates in 2003. I've been working in the community for probably the last almost 4 years in different outreach capacities. I was at the township for a while doing outreach. I just left Cook County Clerk Karen Yarbrough's office doing outreach. And I am doing outreach. Today was my first day for Senator Lightford, 4th District. So, concerned citizens.
Margarita Levasseur. Let's see, I was teaching the last 3 years here at PMSA. Now I'm going to go back to Proviso West. I started my career at PMSA. Dr. Fowles and Mr. Breich interviewed and hired me 7 years ago. So I'm now going into year 8 in the district. And then I have taught French, I have taught social studies, I have taught CAS, which is an IB class. I've taught One Goal. So I like to say I'm Jill of all trades, kind of master of none. So what brings me here, even though it's been 8 years in this district, I have now entered year 23 of teaching, which is kind of hard for me to believe. And my experience has had me teaching everywhere from the North Shore suburbs up in Niles Township and in Skokie, down to Plainfield, where I live. I've also taught in Bloom Township, which is in the far south suburbs. So I have a lot of experience. I've seen a lot of different policies. I've seen how things can be handled. I've had to do everything and anything in between. So there's a lot of things that I can offer. My son is currently a high school junior at Plainfield East. So I also have been looking at what they're doing and how they're doing stuff.
And Attorney Benita Ben just walked in.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. So, I am Benita Ben, you already said, Attorney Benita Ben. I guess some of my background is mostly civil litigation and some policy work and contract law. And I'm a product of the Proviso East of 1983.
Okay, so, you all know I like to keep our meetings short, sweet, and to the point. I don't believe in having long meetings, they get on my nerves. So we're gonna go right into policy. And the first policy we're gonna look at is ethics and gift ban, that's policy 2.105. It's up on the board. Number 8. So we're gonna change that from $75 to $50. That's board governance. And we're gonna change that from per person to per school board member. So that's very clear because I was told that it wasn't clear. So now it will be very clear. So instead of $75, the most any school board member can receive is a $50 gift or gift.
I mean, for food or refreshments?
You know, so let's say if you wanna.
But it says specifically food
Food or refreshments, that's it.
Okay,
So
so my
no
question
200,
is,
no 300, no 500. No.
my question is, in the past, the school board member, or anybody who was in attendance, is my understanding, could get up to $75 per person per meal. And so now, and typically they were having one school board meeting a month, is that correct? That was in the past, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now you're having 2 school board meetings in a month, right? So what are you proposing, or are you just telling us that's a change that the board is gonna make?
Just a change. So we just wanna change it from 75 to 50.
And is that for every board meeting? Because that means that that's $100 a month that's allocated per board member, which is a $25 increase to what we were typically used to allocating, because it was $75 a person. So you're meeting 2 times a month now, so that increases the amount of money that's being spent on food.
So let's do it, okay, let's just leave it where it's at.
No, I don't say leave it where it's at, because all we're doing is just trying to make proposals, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and have discussion. I mean, that's just my opinion. Other people in here might disagree with me.
Right, because she's saying the amount that a board member can receive.
Right, I'm looking at a total cap, right,
Yeah.
right.
50, so it went down from 75 to 50.
But they still can get it every meeting, and they were meeting once a month. So last year, it would have been a cap of
It's
$75
like a
a
gift.
month.
No, I'm talking about a gift.
I know, I understand that, but I understand that it has to do with gifts. But it still says food or refreshments. That's what number 8 says.
But if somebody wants to give a gift, they can't give you no more than.
If they wanna give a gift,
They can't give.
they can't give a gift any more than $75.
I understand that, but that's not what number 8 says. Number 8 is specific to food and refreshments. Your gift cap should be way lower than that, in my opinion. Your gift cap of their receipt of a gift, if that's what you're talking about, should be way lower than $75. But I'm saying if you read this policy, I think the policy starts off as gifts, and number 8 goes into what has specifically happened with respect to food and
So
refreshments.
you said you think the gift, you think it should be lower than the $75? I mean,
Yeah.
lower than the $50, because she lowered it to the 50.
Yeah, I think because 50 is $100 a month now, where it would have been $75 a month under the old policy. So I'm saying when you look at the total expenditure, what should it be? I don't know.
You see, we're only meeting like this to get caught up. So come January, we're not meeting twice a month. We're not meeting twice a month at all come January.
And is it,
This is just.
And this
cut off.
goes
I'm
in the
sorry,
past.
is it food or refreshments and food and refreshments in total?
Yeah, because that's.
That's the way that, the way I read that,
It's
it's
just food or
Or
refreshment.
refreshment.
So he's saying, his question is a good question, because that's not clear, so is it food, or is food
and
just a
refreshments in
refreshment?
total, not to
Right.
exceed
Well,
$50?
can a refreshment be like if somebody gifted them like an edible?
Well, firstly, I'm not clear that, this is where I'm confused. Because I'm confused why anybody would be giving a board member $75 worth of food or a refreshment.
Well, it
That's-
actually,
Yeah, I'm just saying, but I'm confused by that.
In my world.
Why I would be giving a specific board member, that's why I'm reading the policy to
It
be,
should be
that
and.
this
One
is what you do for,
conversation.
I'm
this is
sorry.
what you do for board meetings, but maybe I'm incorrect. So if it means, if all you're talking about is a gift
it's a
of
gift.
food or refreshments, I don't understand why anybody gotta give them food or refreshments. Why I gotta give a board member food or refreshments?
Because it was gifted before, and it was like a 200 or whatever that gift basket was. It was like ridiculous.
Oh, okay, because that's not the way this reads. That's not the way that reads. So maybe that, yeah, that's not the way
Because, you
that
know,
reads.
you have, like, when I was on the board, school board, you have vendors who would wanna give a gift to members. And so I guess this putting a cap on it, that gift
But if you
can't
go
be
back up
over.
to the top of the policy, which is, we skipped all the way down, and the top of the policy says, ethics and gift ban. The following precepts govern political activity being conducted by district employees and Board of Education members. And that talks about political activity, okay? And then we go down to limitations on receiving gifts. Keep going, Sam, because we didn't really have a chance to read this report. And then it says, anything from which a board member or employee, okay, and then it says educational materials, travel expenses, a gift from a relative, meaning those people related to an individual. Father, mother, son, daughter. What can't they give, even in number 6? What does it say? A gift from a relative. I understand, so you're saying that they're prohibited,
Yeah,
are they prohibited
So
for
it's any gift at all, as long, unless there's like a previous relationship.
Okay, so if it's a family member, we're not gonna stop it, okay, right?
Yeah,
But if
right.
it's somebody internal,
Need to be in a policy, that's something you should go into, accept a gift from a family member.
so that's.
So then you go down there, and then you get to A, and you say food or refreshments not exceeding $75 per person in value on a single calendar day, provided that the food or refreshments are consumed on the premises from which they were purchased or prepared or catered. Catered means food or refreshments that are purchased, ready to consume, which are delivered by any means.
Yeah, so that's 75 specific, just. to
Isn't
the-
that what, okay, so I
Yeah.
understand. So that means nobody can give any board member more than $75 for food or refreshments on one day. But I could come for a month, and every day I could give that board member $75 in food or refreshments.
It's a board or staff.
Right.
Or staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And who is it prohibited from giving it to? Like another worker, is this worker to worker? Or is this?
Anybody.
Anybody.
It could be vendors.
Parent, it could be vendor, a parent, anybody.
I just think it should be food and refreshments in total.
Food and
Well, see, I
refreshments.
think it should be, I just think, why can't it be considered a gift? Because if I'm giving you a fruit basket, that's a gift.
Right?
So I don't understand why it has to be limited to breaking it out. It's just like that whole paragraph on relatives. Why would anybody should be able to get any gift from their family
It
member?
could be a gift, but usually what they do is they'll put a
limit.
cap on what the
Absolutely.
limit is. But it could
Absolutely.
be whatever it is.
It could
have
be
to
whatever it
food,
is,
fresh,
absolutely.
whatever.
I'm saying,
And that's
yeah,
usually
a
how it
limit.
is in the private
Right,
sector.
I mean, I don't know why we have to distinguish. The only reason I thought that, Sam, is because I know for board members, on board meeting nights, they had a cap, and I don't know where that comes from what policy, but there's a cap of $75 per board member and anyone else, because that's not a gift. You're using district funds to pay for that. That's not the community gifting you that. So that's a whole different scenario than what we're talking about here. But to me, to clean this up is set a limit, $50 gift. They can't accept any gift, whether it's liquor, unless it's.
But don't you have to put something else like what, within a 30-day, every 30 days, every,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in the federal government, the policy is that no one can receive, any manager or the agency cannot receive a gift over this amount of money. It
Correct.
doesn't say like you can do it once a month. You
Right.
can never do it
Right.
unless it's consumed on the property. So for example, a lot of times, like we do work with Keebler Company, and they would send a Keebler elf to the federal government, and the Keebler elf would have cookies. Those cookies had to be consumed and shared on the property. Any other gift that they were giving to an individual had a cap.
And I think this does prohibit it, so at the
Yeah,
very
but-
top, right under where it says limitations on receiving gifts. So basically it's saying that you can't receive any gift as a board member unless it's number 7 was saying, unless it's from your family member or somebody that you've had a relationship with.
And number 8 is saying as
And then-
long as it's not.
And then the only other
exceeding 7.
exception is, or one of the only other exceptions is food.
Yeah,
That's it.
I don't see the point
Right.
in accepting that.
And then
If we're talking about that, but that's what I'm trying to be clear on whether we're talking about a gift or whether we're talking about the money that's allocated for board members on the evenings that they meet, because I don't want to change
So I don't
that.
Huh, that's different.
No, what she's saying, that is two different.
That's
things.
two different things.
Different things, yeah, it is.
So I'm not clear, because every time I've asked about how much the community has to pay for them to have, their expensive dinners that they had, whenever I asked that, it was that they were able to spend up to $75 a person. I know, but that's not the point. That's not the point. That's why I'm saying, is that a different policy that refers to the board members and the $75?
I think it is, because this is gifts. I
Okay,
think
well then to me, no gifts over it. I mean,
Oh,
is it-
what would you say?
Can we
I
just
mean-
write that down as a question and then
Sure.
come back to it
Yeah,
sometime?
I think that's probably, I
You
don't know
think
where
that's still
that
too
goes.
high?
What?
$50?
Board members.
I mean,
dinners
we didn't
before
accept
and
any
after
gifts
board
as board
meetings
members.
and limited
None.
things like that.
In Broadview, we did.
I know that's not the legally, but that's the.
A person, they're talking about the receipt of a gift. So that meant that on Monday, you could come give Sam $75 worth of food. On Tuesday, I could come give her $75 worth of food. On Wednesday, Deb could come give her $75 worth of food.
So it's no limit to.
But my question is, are we talking about actually someone in the community giving them food money, or where's the food money coming from?
It could be a vendor,
It should be a vendor.
It could be a vendor. It could be a vendor.
because I've evaluated like Pearson products and other products.
Yeah, it could be. A vendor could say, we want to come in and treat the board, right? But that's the
Or
whole,
a teacher.
that's the whole point of this, though, is when you have a vendor, you don't want to accept gifts from that vendor because it clouds your mind. So the whole point of the policy is to not allow you to accept those gifts from those people.
That's why they put the cap on.
Yeah, that's why
And they can pretty much only do it once because there's a limit on $100, I think.
Per year.
Per year.
Per year.
So they can't do it every board meeting.
Where does
I
it
think
say
it's
that?
another-
Because they get money every board meeting
It's
from the
another
general
policy
fund.
number up there. Which number is that?
District one.
2.260. This is a quick fix. Did you get it?
I know, but who does that apply to?
Was
Board
there
members
complaints
or?
regarding the superintendent?
I think if you put that red one on the right card. Yeah.
It's terrible for you. Nobody But Sam, so if that's if it means a gift, then I think, does it matter whether the gift is food or whether the gift is a gift card, or whether the gift is, I'm just asking you as a conversation piece, does it really matter? Because to me, it doesn't matter. A gift is a gift.
Gift is a gift.
Yeah.
You get it? Okay, so if you look up on the board, policy number 2.260, the investigation process, complaints regarding the superintendent, we need to remove Rodney Alexander's name.
these policies be emailed to us?
Yes.
And if you're telling us, if these are changes that the board is already gonna be proposing, then my question is, why are we discussing?
No, because we have to do this one right away, because his name is there. So we just have to update, we just need to remove.
Okay, so then we don't even need to discuss that.
Yeah,
That's,
no,
yeah,
no.
that's what I'm saying. I
It's a
mean, if
quick
there's
fix.
gonna be a
No,
change that
it's
you're
a
gonna
quick
be
fix.
doing,
Removing the name.
So we're just
or if
removing,
you're making the
Rodney's
change.
name,
Right.
and we're adding Amanda's name. And then we need to update that every time there's a new president. So it will not, Rodney's name should have been removed.
And also Hadala.
Actually,
And-
Ms.
Yeah, you still
Sisson,
got
just so you know, I did reach out to PR
Okay.
because I think they're the ones who have access to this.
Okay.
But I told them to change Mr. Hadala's name to my name, so.
Yeah, it should have been
I
changed.
gave them the 3 policies
Okay.
that his name were on, and so
Okay.
they're gonna change it.
Okay,
Okay.
so those are quick changes, quick fix. All right, yay, we're up with credit cards.
So my question is Dr. Carvalho's gone?
I think she's
No, she's,
Because I would like to, I don't know, maybe someone else could ask, but at the last meeting, we were told, or we got information from people who worked in the district, that one of the things that was happening was that there's, for example, a credit card at a school, I don't know, maybe it's the principal's credit card, and that multiple people, the principal under the policy was authorized to authorize whomever to use the card as long as the purchase was an electronic purchase, not an in-person purchase, right? Because in an in-person purchase, you gotta sign, so this had to do with anything that you might be ordering telephonically or anything that you might be ordering, online. And so, basically, there were many, many people who potentially the principal could give the card to and authorize that person, whoever it is, use of the card. That's what we were told was the policy. We were also told that the reconciliations were not being done in a timely manner, and that in many times a credit card would get cut off for a secretary who might hold a credit card because the reconciliation documents weren't going to the budget office in a timely manner. And then we were also told that sometimes, particularly with the athletic department, that they could be out somewhere and there's a limit on their card, and of course if they're buying hotel rooms for a bunch of kids and they reach that limit, that they're out there with a credit card, that now they gotta call back here to get somebody to go increase the credit card, right? So what we had started talking about, a couple of things that we had started talking about was, for me, anyone who's using a credit card should be using a credit card in their name, because it tracks back. If there's 20 people using this same credit card and passing it around, and we're not getting reconciliation when we should get reconciliation, how do we even keep track? And I think that we're gonna learn that we weren't keeping track of expenditures that were being made to credit cards at different schools, right? And now we're coming back and we're trying to reconcile a bunch of that stuff now as we speak, right? So I think that really, I don't, and I have to leave this to the administration, right? Because I don't really know your operation, right? So I can just tell you, in the federal government, at one point in time, they were really persnickety about who had a credit card, right? And then the policy became, if you travel more than twice a year, then you could have a credit card, right? Because then we had to do a lot of accounting and giving money, right? But at the end of the day, there was a cardholder agreement. And once you sign that cardholder agreement, if you misuse that card, you subjected yourself to either disciplinary action up to and including removal, right? So if I was thinking in a school, I think the secretary absolutely would have to hold a card, right? Because they may have to order anything, any day, right? I don't know, Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Okay, the principal, of course, has to have access to a card because any emergency could arise that they gotta get someone in and take care of that, right? So then my question would be to you is, who else would you be recommending hold a card? And then what would you be recommending as the limits to those cards, right? Because the secretaries should have a lower limit, and if the secretary would need to exceed that limit, then you have to go to the principal, right, who has a card with a higher limit, and it would just give us some more accountability. But I don't think that us in this room can answer all those questions, those have to be questions that the administration answers, because you know how much, I mean, we should be able to go look, right, at past practice, how much money were our secretaries actually spending on a credit card at each school, how much money were our principals, and certainly our athletic department should be pretty easy to track how much money the athletic, so my question would be, it would seem to me, because the board had some concerns with respect to how these credit cards are being used and who was using them, and without dictating to the administration what those levels of expenditure should be, or who the administration would recommend hold a credit card, is what we were talking about as it relates to this policy. The other thing is we're very clear, we can't write a policy here, because these policies have to meet the school code and they have to meet legal requirements, right? So all we can do is make some recommendations to you, and then the administration can come back and give us information in terms of how the policy would actually be drafted. Because the other policy clearly does state in here that whoever, I mean, it's just very poor. I don't know how old these policies are.
They're real old, like 2010, 2000.
Okay, some of them are even, so I mean, so certainly there should, you know, I'm hoping that, you know, when, I know the board is extremely busy right now, they got a whole lot on their plate, but I'm really hoping that one day there's a full policy review, because it really helps.
Well, policies are important.
What change do you want to make?
So that's what we're asking.
That's what we're recommending.
We're asking Dr.
We're not gonna rewrite this poorly written policy.
Yeah, because it's
We're gonna make
policy.
recommendations.
Yeah.
What would be your recommendation? Because like I said, it really is up to the administration as to who gets these credit cards. But we're just, as a school board member, I was appalled to see that anybody could just use a credit card over and over and over again without any kind of accountability.
So the procedure is that you have to do a PO first.
Requisition.
A requisition, yeah. And I think, to my understanding, there's people that aren't following that.
Yeah.
So, first of all, we have a policy that is not being followed. And what Dr. Hill is doing right now is finding out who has credit cards.
Where is that policy at? Do we know where that policy is actually at and how it reads?
It should be in there.
You mean,
So
The
number,
requisition, yeah.
so basically number 7 in this
Number 7.
dictates that the superintendent
Bring it, Ms.
puts
Gordon.
in place procedures to follow the policy. So like everything that you're talking about is the procedures that we need to follow as a district internally to make sure that there's checks and balances with the credit cards. So there's, I mean, do you mind?
Please.
Yeah, because historically in the district, because I've been here for so
Yeah,
long,
yeah.
you know, we've done it many different ways. Like
Yeah.
before, if you remember, there were only credit cards in the business office, and
Yeah,
and we
check-
would check out,
okay.
you remember that, right, Brenda?
Yeah.
And we would check out the credit cards,
Yeah.
and then that credit card, it didn't have an individual's name on it,
No.
but rather
School
the
district.
Proviso Township High School
Yeah.
District 09.
Yeah.
And you check that credit card out essentially, you had to have a requisition with an amount, with a,
And that
But I don't even think you
has
can get those cards.
yeah. But I'm just sharing with what you're.
Is there a written policy?
So that may be
That's what
why
I'm
they
saying,
got
it's a
rid of
written
it.
Is there a written
But that
policy
that
that the
procedure should still
superintendent
be
is
written
written
for that, of
Yeah.
checking out.
See,
those.
I think that we have to come
That's
to the
what I was
20.
saying.
I think that the
Is
district
there a
has
written
policy?
No, I think the district has to come to the 21st century.
Here,
You know, it has to come to the 21st century.
no.
If somebody needs something, they have to put in a purchase order, get a purchase order or whatever it is called approved, when in fact, I might need Band-Aids right now. I learned that the nurse at Proviso East High School did not have water to give children who were taking medication. That nurse should have been able to go to somebody who should have been able to purchase a $500 pallet of water for that school, right? So I'm saying you gotta come into the 21st century.
That's the question I have. Look, we talked about that at the last meeting, how to handle the real-time, transaction, given whatever the original policy was of what we need to happen, with the understanding that we can't have everyone having a credit card or, you know, calling in numbers over the phone or whatever, so that people are just doing whatever. So it was twofold. It was who can have the cards and requisition procedure that we're already following, but how do we update that so that, like, an emergency situation or real-time situation kicks in and someone with authority can make a purchase?
So, if I may read something here, and this is our policy that has been for years. After requisition is approved by all designated approvers, a purchase order is generated by the purchasing agent. The purchase order is sent via email to the originator. Keep a file with all purchase orders received and corresponding receipts for your monthly reconciliation. The receipts from the purchase must accompany the card as required board policy 4:55. Next, the month-end statements will be emailed to each credit card holder by the district business office. Print out your statements and reconcile by matching the receipts to the purchase order received. Please identify the PO number next to each charge on the statement. Finally, you clip the reconciliation approval form to the statement with all POs and receipts. Staple the receipts to the corresponding PO. Please number the charges on the statement to the corresponding PO and receipts attached which match the number charges to the statement. Both the preparer and the supervisor, name on the credit card, your name has to be on the credit card, must sign the approval form, send the documents to the district's business office for processing. We have this process that we've always followed.
No, we haven't. It's not been being followed. Okay,
It has not been followed, but it's there, that's what I was asking.
But the point is why don't we come into the 21st century? If you're purchasing anything on a credit card, you already have an audit trail on what was purchased, where it was purchased, and how much it cost. Okay, and you have a bill coming into your budget office from that credit card company. So that person making that purchase, if they have authority to spend $500, I don't know, if it's a secretary, and the secretary said, I gotta order a pallet of water because the water fountains in the school are not good and the kids can't drink out of it, so we need a pallet of water. That secretary could order that water. You are operating in the 19th century. Nobody does all this stapling together to put the thing on there and take it back over there.
The signatures that's required, you can't even get all the people's signatures because they're not in the building or they're at meetings, and it can't be approved until you have all these signatures signed. That's so frustrating and irritating.
This is all through iVision, so it's click, click, click. It's very quick.
No, so I'm talking about signatures to get approved. Like you have to have the principal signature.
But not anymore because.
Are you DocuSigning?
It's electronic.
It's all computers now. It's click, click, click.
So
where's that?
my question then, I'm sorry, my question is then, what, is there a policy in place for the repercussions if they don't follow the policy? And what is the timeline that we have in place for them to actually execute this procedure?
What I have done requisitions, and how it was explained to me is that a requisition is asking permission to use taxpayer money for X, Y, and Z. So it requires forethought. So there's that half of this conversation is what is the forethought that needs to go into making a purchase. But then there's this, of course, the back end, right? So now you made your purchase, now what do you do with all your materials?
But that's after your requisition is approved.
Oh, right.
Because you have to have your requisition approved. So if I need water, I'm just going to use water. I need water right now. So I gotta put a requisition in, then the requisition has to be approved, and then I can make the order request, and then I go on the back end and fill out all of my stuff. And all I'm asking you to consider is looking at the same kind of electronic process that you have, but simplifying that in terms of the requisition by addressing that by the limits you place on the card that the individual can use, right? So if you place a low enough limit on that card, you're not worried that someone is misusing the card because they can't do it for so much. All those checks and balances are audits.
And that's correct, because some of the limits are $5,000.
Yes.
They're not high limits.
Right.
And those limits.
And I'm just trying to save you some effort and some time.
Those limits for certain cards, which I have seen, are $5,000.
Right.
Because within a month, you shouldn't be able to spend more than $5,000.
Absolutely.
Correct.
And that's for emergencies, for example.
Right.
There's an emergency
Exactly.
where they don't take a credit card, and you can't do a PO.
Right.
You have to use a credit card.
Right.
And that's, there are.
So what I'm asking you to
have use,
consider
yes.
is
We
looking
have
at
those-
that.
We have those situations, of course.
But I'm
Where
saying
you use the
consider
credit card.
looking at your policy, because when you read that policy and it's staple this to this, you
Yeah.
do
No,
this,
that's
whether you do it or
Yeah.
not, the policy sounds like it's overwhelming and
Yeah.
stupid, okay?
There are.
Well, that's not what it
Yeah,
reads.
that's
though.
an iVision. I know, but they don't, everybody don't have, because everybody don't have access to iVision, so we, the ones who don't have access to
Yeah, Judge,
iVision,
there
they're
are
doing the
certain-
paperwork still, right?
I hear it.
Yeah, Judge, there are certain extenuating
She said
circumstances
simple one.
that we respect, and that's, those circumstances are
I
exactly that.
understand that, but Dr. Carvalho, this is what I'm saying to you. As a member of the community and a taxpayer, I'm not questioning and I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah.
I'm
No, I-
asking you to take a look at putting in place,
Right.
which they do in the federal government, in the county government.
Right.
You know, they put in, there has to be some trust that these people who are sitting in these positions are not gonna misuse that money. And so my question is, I know we wanna say, oh, it's tax dollars and we gotta make sure that they're being spent correctly. But if people are trained on the kinds of things that a secretary can purchase,
Right.
then my thing is you have all of the audit trail you need in the credit card transaction.
Right.
That's
You're
not
right.
to say that that secretary should then get whatever kind of receipt she gets electronically and have to forward that on to the budget office, so when the budget office gets it, they know that that is legitimate, right? So that's all I'm saying, is
Right,
to
right,
simplify
and you're correct, and
what
she
you
does do that, she puts it on.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, I think the language can be simplified.
So Dr. Hill, what she's doing right now, she is compiling a plan, and her plan includes who has credit cards, what the balances are on those credit cards, what the credit limit is gonna be on these credit cards, and she's going to. Sorry?
And the approval chain.
Yeah, and the approval chain. She's coming up with a plan that is user-friendly, that will be more, that will expedite things, and it will help the system. So she is in the process of looking at everything. And
So would the language change in the policy?
well, that I can't answer until Dr. Hill finishes her analysis of what is happening.
So she's putting a process together, procedure, and that's what we're asking.
Yes,
Yeah,
she is.
okay.
Actually, we should have her come to these meetings. She's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She said she would definitely be at the next meeting. Yeah.
So Dr. will be at the next meeting?
Yes, Dr. will be at the next meeting. Okay.
Okay, so that's.
No, it's procedures.
Yeah.
Underneath the policy. Yeah.
Just in terms of 4.55, Sam, it continues to reference the superintendent or designee, and I'm not clear, and I think that was one of the issues the board had. Who's the designee?
It would be the person in the business office, the one,
No, the superintendent or designee must
the
approve the use.
CSBO.
Okay, then why doesn't it say CSBO?
Yeah.
That's not clear to us what that means.
Just a word change.
I mean, or when you look at the whole policy, there, right.
I'd just like to add something to that though. We do have designee in there. Most school district policies will say designee because in the event you don't have a CSBO or that individual is not present, usually a deputy superintendent or an assistant superintendent would then be deemed a designee, so you can do business as usual. So I don't think as a
Unfortunately, in
district.
this district,
Well,
we heard that all kind of expenditures
sure.
were going on
Right.
from people who were using those credit cards. So in this district, then, all we're saying is you can do that parenthetical. You can say, or assistant superintendent.
Sure.
You can
Or
do that.
list,
But I think that the board wants to know who that means.
Yeah, just so we don't just, get ourselves just in with one individual.
Right.
No, that makes sense.
Yes.
Ms. Exton, you want to say CSBO?
She's the one who said CSBO, by the way. We didn't say that.
No, I just wanted to.
No, I'm just saying the
to agree.
superintendent said that, we didn't. We just said who was the designee.
It's the CEFO, right? Who is it?
CFO,
C- Yeah.
or designee.
She's taking out.
They don't want designee.
No,
They don't wanna know, the board wants to know who that could potentially be.
They would rather list it out, so they would, you want to probably propose CSBO deputy superintendent.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
what's the name?
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah.
title.
The title.
Yeah, so it's the titles.
So it'd be like CFO, like.
Yes.
What do we say?
Well, that's why they
They're gonna
have,
list.
no, that's why they're saying it could be the CFO, it could be the CPPO,
Yeah, they're gonna
it could
list.
be the ADD, the QRR, whatever.
So,
Lots of acronyms.
So that's-
Debbie, you wanna come up with what you have for safety, real quick?
Basically, I wasn't on the agenda to talk about my safety, it was attendance, but I've been looking at the safety policy and, I mean, it's a policy, I'm trying to understand you all policies because what I'm looking at is, it's a policy, but there's no procedures to it.
Right.
It's telling you this, and this, and then go to school board code, whatever that code is, and that code is actually the procedure, but the codes are so long, so I'm trying
No,
to.
you're talking about the ILCS
Yeah,
code, that's the law,
I know.
Yeah,
that's the
but
reference
that's
to
what
the
they
law.
keep
Excuse me,
referencing to.
can I just ask the specific, policy number that you were looking
Yeah.
at?
The policy number that I was looking at was policy 4170,
Okay,
safety.
because safety is kind of like speckled throughout all the policies, I just wanted to make sure. So 4170?
So what
Yes.
she's saying is she doesn't understand what the reference to the law is, but I think the other point that she's making, which is a really good point, is a policy is not a procedure.
No,
A policy outlines what the expectations are.
Yes.
And the procedure, which is written at a lower level,
Has
which
to
is
be
not the
somewhere,
law,
right.
the procedure then implements the policy.
correct.
So
Yes.
because we are only
Yes.
looking at a policy, we don't know what the implementing procedures are.
Correct.
And the reference that she's talking about is to the school code, okay?
Because
And
they're
that's
referencing
that's
the
more.
school codes as the procedure, which is crazy.
No, they're saying in accordance with the school
Right.
code. They're not saying that's the procedure. They're
But if
saying
you
that
read a
this,
lot of them, the
this
procedure is in the
safety-
school code.
no, well, the school code basically does even more than, it's even more
It
vague
does,
than
I've
a
got the
policy.
copies here, Gay, I was
Yeah,
just
it's just a
looking, but
vague
I'm just
policy.
saying there's no
Well,
procedures.
There's no
And it
procedure.
sounds like what you're looking for too is just for us to be more transparent in terms of what we're sharing with the community and what we're doing as it relates to safety, so that people do know what our procedures are.
Right.
Because policy is always gonna be written vague, as you were
And the
mentioning,
school
and
code is
law
worse.
is even worse,
Because,
exactly, yeah.
you know, Debbie and I were talking, and we were looking at the, AD, who does that training?
So it
How many
says,
people are
but
trained?
here in the policy, it says the district should have and, so which is that and to me is one AED on site, and then you don't
Yeah.
even say where on site
It is.
this AED is. So if I need to get to it,
Where-
I don't know where to go to get to it. And then it says as well as trained, as a trained AED user.
Yeah.
Okay, who are the trained people that are supposed to be trained?
For Proviso East, I facilitated the training for Loyola to come in and train all of the, what I was approved to do, with all of the security staff. I did the lunchroom workers and some of the front office staff, and then showed them where the AED was. So
But
that was
that's at
just,
East. What about West?
Right,
I was hoping to get West and PMS.
But that's why these policies, you're not going to get specific about the different school building in the policy.
No.
It's
No.
the building
Right.
policy
Right.
where it's gonna get into, exactly what you're saying
Right.
though,
But
the
you want-
building will spell it out.
You wanna see those procedures is what you're
She wants to see
Yeah,
the
I-
procedure.
And that makes
like to
perfect
know that.
sense.
And correct, what we do want is to stop seeing procedures that are different amongst the three schools.
So we try to
We
get
would like to
everybody
see
on the same page.
consistent
So
procedures
that's
throughout
another
the
thing, West
So-
may do one thing and East
Right.
doing another,
Right.
what him
And
and
I-
say.
And I'm assuming that what you're also wanting to see is consistent consequences too. So that if an East kid and a West kid, or an East kid and a PMSA kid, or a West kid and a PMSA
Right.
kid get into a fight
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a football game or something,
Yeah.
then the consequences
I
are
understand.
going to be equitable.
Yeah.
Because
But getting
that's
back
one
to
of
the
those things.
safety, we just wanna make sure, like, that the procedures, that the actual procedures are there, and if you're not following procedures, as she said, then we're looking at the consequences of not following
Can I-
a procedure. But there, I'm just looking through some of these, and it's like,
It's
I
a
don't
good
know
point, let me
what
tell you
the
why.
procedure
At the
is.
last board meeting, a teacher got up and said that they did not have one fire drill
Right.
last year at Proviso West High School.
And it's
So,
supposed to,
right, so-
according to this.
Right. That's
I've
part
been
of-
here 18 years, we've had a puppet.
Okay, well, you better tell the teacher who said you didn't, that you didn't.
Last year.
Well, it says every academic year, each school building that houses children shall conduct a minimum.
It was in May, but we had one.
Yeah, you're supposed to
Oh,
have.
see, and that's not amusing to me,
No, no, no.
that my kids were in a school all year, and in May, right before the school year ended, we had one
And there
because we had to do it, that's not amusing to
Well,
me.
that's
And my,
all we
and my
had.
understanding
So
too,
that's all we had is one. When I
Well,
was-
according to the
That's all I
policy,
had.
it says there should be 3 school evacuation drills to address and prepare students and the personnel for fire incidents. And somebody is supposed to be contacting the fire department to set these drills up, so that when the drills occur, they're involved in it as well. I mean, it's here, I just don't.
Yeah, and it's state law as well, so.
Yeah.
once
Yes,
you
yeah.
stay with-
No,
That's
I'm
why
not-
it refers to.
I'm not
oh,
laughing at it.
No.
Oh, no.
I'm like.
But you're like, well, we did it. I
No,
mean,
no,
yeah,
the
did you
issue-
do it on May, the day that the kids left school? Was it the last
No,
day
it
of
was before
school?
that.
What, 2 days before school was over? But
Probably
school
2
was over
weeks.
in May.
But then, going back to your point, if this says 3 school evacuations, and for instance, only one school did one drill, one school did no drill, what are the consequences?
Here, this is why we have different board members.
because there's issues about compliance. The other thing
Yeah,
too
we
is
have
there should
compliance
also
going
be, an inclement weather drill for tornadoes and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
And
it's
there
in
was
there.
a day last year where the sirens went off, I think in Hillside.
Yeah.
And the kids had no clue what to do.
Right.
The other thing too is, there also is supposed to be a lockdown drill. As a side note though, I would like to see if we could get lockdown drill changed to the Alice drills like they do in other districts now, where what that is where kids are now barricading doors, helping to barricade doors like with tables and things like that.
For active
Because-
shooter.
For an active shooter drill. So that's one of the other things. The other thing I also would like to put in for issues of, this is where it goes into disciplinary, bigger discipline, and in terms of like for major things, like something very egregious, okay? There is a law called Corey's Law. This is named after one of my good friend's sons. He was a kid who was brought in for discipline into the dean's office for playing a video of him and his girlfriend doing the deed, okay? They couldn't see anything, but you could hear it. But anyways, what happened then is he wound up walking out of the building and then went over to the parking lot on Chicago Avenue in Naperville and jumped off the top of the building. And in the meantime, there is supposed to be, thanks to Corey's Law, there's a bunch of procedures that also now must be there for a major offense made by a kid, because my understanding is there should be a social worker or a counselor involved. There should also be, Corey had never set foot in the dean's office for anything. He had
So
never
what
been
policy would they go on?
First thing, the law, the Illinois state
Because
legislature
this is
just
safety.
passed a new law
Yes, they did.
implementing mental health
Yes.
policies and procedures, and it may not go into effect until January 1 of next year or 2024, but they just passed a law that's gonna require.
And I think
Right.
that's possible,
Right.
right. And I would say that would probably go under the parts about suspension procedures or.
Well, we're talking about safety,
Right.
that's not in here.
Right.
So,
But it's still a little bit.
when we leave from this, then we can go to,
Susan? So I have a question. I was in the classroom during the school year, and one of the students said to me, Mrs. Smith, I'm afraid that I'm going to get killed at Proviso West. And I said, well, why are you afraid? This was during that they had so many school shootings. I can't remember which one. And so the student said to me, what is the procedure that we should follow?
And you're talking about active shooter.
Do you know, I had, because there's nothing, there's nothing written down.
Just, if I could just say something, because
Let me finish what I was saying. In the classroom, and Mr. Arce and the other teachers can attest to this, we have no instructions as what to do if a shooter gets into the school. So I had to go on the internet and Google, what should I do if a shooter gets into the
We
school?
have in the past.
Yes, we have.
We haven't, I wanna go move forward. If we keep on like rehashing what's been gone on, we'll
Right.
never get anywhere.
Right.
We've had active shooter drills in the past.
And that's why I said,
Not last year.
I don't know, that's not what I'm saying. Now, I'm
But
saying
what I'm
in the
suggesting-
last 2 to 3 years, we haven't had an active shooter.
But we have in the past. We know.
right,
Yeah.
and my
we have
suggestion is that we actually.
Active shooter training goes on every year in
Yeah.
every organization. It's not like we just skip 5 years.
Just let me finish. What I'm saying is that the students were afraid.
Right.
The students were scared. They said, what do we do? One kid said to me, I'm gonna run out in the hallway, I'm gonna confront the shooter. This is how our kids are thinking. Our kids are thinking, what are we gonna do? I said, one thing you cannot do is be on your cell phone. I'm gonna call my mom, I'm gonna call my dad and tell them to come up to the school. So I went on the internet, I Googled, it said to lock your door, put the desk and things up to the door. And I had to tell the kids myself what to do.
So therefore, we need a procedure
Yes,
to go over with the kids, with
Yes.
the staff, with everybody on what it is instead of, this policy says there is a enforced lockdown drill to address, but it does not say what the procedure for the
They say they have
lockdown
them.
is.
They say
And
they
so,
have them.
if the procedures are there, then
And we need
when
to
I'm
see the
hearing people
procedure.
are not following
And the
them,
schools need to.
we haven't seen them, and if they are not, if they're not following them, then what are the consequences for administration at those schools that do not follow these policies and these drills?
And also,
Because when I'm here with you, your students don't know it.
they don't know.
You do it years ago, we're not talking years ago, we got,
They might be done.
We have to go forward though.
but I'm just saying, moving forward, right, because we got new teachers, we got new students, so we gotta keep doing this.
So all we wanna know is what's the plan?
Yeah, that's
Going
it. Just
forward,
what's the plan?
we agree, we don't have to talk about what didn't happen last year, because I'm sure it didn't happen a lot of it the year before either, because it wasn't like last year, all this stuff just willy-nilly fell apart, because that's not the case. But we do know that we're trying to get things on track. So I think one of the things that would help here is if we're gonna review a policy, it would be helpful to us to have the procedures as well. And it would be helpful to us to have them in advance so that we can review them.
Hold on.
Go ahead. So, this one is getting my attention because it's the entire reason that I got involved to the beginning was safety concerns for my child and others. And one of the reasons being is that when you walk into all of the schools except, well, even PMSA, when you walk in, you just walk in, right? You're in there, and so once the person is in the building with the gun, how can we rework these procedures where we're walking through in active time, actually saying, okay, these are what our, security weak points are from all angles, because we have students, we all know that we'll let friends in from different doors. That's a big issue, because once the person is there, now we're being reactive versus proactive. So how can we actively work on those procedures versus just,
We are not safe in our schools. We're not safe. Sandra and I have witnessed many times a student opening the door to let someone in. We had a young man get into the field house. He didn't go to the school. He didn't belong to the school. He went and played basketball with the kids. This was an adult back in his 40s. He played basketball with the kids. It's like,
In West, there's so many entrances.
What
are we gonna do about it?
So you just need more.
Should be locked.
maybe we make alarms go off when the door
Should
is
be
locked?
locked.
They
There
don't.
should be alarms.
So, but at each, in other schools, I don't know if you can just walk in. I know, West, you have to be buzzed in. Proviso East, you have to be buzzed in. PMSA, I think they doors open, but far as, you have to be buzzed in, you can't just walk in. But far as the other entrances, all these other doors where students are letting other students in, it's out of our control. We always said, do we need more security? Do we need this? But that, and none of that have happened because they done had 25 security and still was happening.
Well, Sam and I went over to Proviso West to go to a program, and we couldn't get in. So we couldn't get in, right, the visitor's door, there was nobody there.
Yeah.
So we walked around, and we went down in that thing where those cars parked down in there, and then back behind in there, and then some kids let us in.
You went to maintenance entrance.
You went to
And the
maintenance.
kids let us in.
They let us in.
Yeah. and
That was not safe.
That's
That's
not safe.
dangerous.
And that's what they,
I mean, this could happen.
and they do that throughout the school.
But once again, I think that we're not, I think the real deal is we're looking at these policies and we're kind of looking at them in without looking at everything, right? Because if there are procedures that are in place, we would have to look at the policies and procedures, right? So that would help us be able to identify.
Those procedures don't exist, or they're out of date.
And I think getting this procedure.
Well, then that's a good thing,
They're
then
out
I
of
think.
date or they don't exist.
So that's,
So we brought up some good issues, right, with this policy, but so we would expect the administration now, from Sam's committee, to go back, take a look at this, take a look at what the procedures are, and then come back to the committee with a report on how we intend to address that.
yeah, I just wanted to share, so, because I've been here for so
Okay,
long,
yeah.
just kind of the evolution of some of this. The evolution of some of the emergency crisis plans and procedures, because what we started to do, and this was probably about 6 years ago, and when I say that, I'm stressing the importance that we need to do it again. What we did, so as an example at PMSA, I worked with our local municipalities, and we had this crisis plan. There's an ISB document for a crisis plan, and it included everything, even back when we looked at it and we saw a global pandemic, and we kind of were like, oh, global pandemic, but it included it in there because it thought through every process, and it was a form, a standard form, but then what we started doing was you have to cater to your buildings, and you have to cater to your school and the surrounding municipalities and how they function, and so bringing in those municipalities, bringing in our stakeholders to have conversation, and that's something that I know Mr. Pavone, and we want to make sure that comes back to the table, because for years, going back to Mr. Gale, those of you that know Mr. Gale, there was a little flip chart, right? And it was extremely out of date, and that's why this came back in to be able to do some meticulous work around you name it, it's in here. And then it's catered towards the district, but also the schools in terms of where things are located, where your emergency evacuations are, when the drills take place and what you do to document those drills. But it's something that happens on a yearly basis because laws change, the research behind the safety changes, right? And so I think having a committee to develop these emergency crisis plans and then sharing that with the community, I think that's what you're kind of talking about, right? But these things, they went forward, but then but what we've got to do is we have to, I think, eventually get them, it's the communication, the training, and the public side to this piece that helps people understand what they need to do to be safe, and that's where we need to go.
And
So the policy side
Mr.
there,
No, they're outdated.
Yeah,
I
so
know, but I'm saying that there needs to be
it was just
updated.
an example.
Oh, okay.
This is outdated.
Yeah,
and
2018.
come back.
Yeah, so
It
it's
says that in
outdated.
there.
Can I just add to that then?
We don't do
Do we
any
also
of it.
please have procedures for communication by administration with the public and with staff and with things? I'll give you an example. This past year, we had a student that came into PMSA with a weapon. And the kid was taken actually out of my classroom, 8th period. There was no communication to the public about what was going on by building administration. It was only addressed later on in the newsletter at the end of the week. This happened, I believe, on a Monday or a Tuesday. The next morning, the kids are outside. It is taking longer to get through security because security is investigating every single backpack. And there was no communication with parents. So it was, and it also happened to be raining. And kids are lined up right here outside all along, going onto the north entrance over by there, over on the other side of the building. And I had kids coming in as late as 8:45 to first period.
Yeah, that's
So I'm just asking, could we also have something where building administration, principal or principal's designee, the principal is out of the building, please communicate to the teachers, to the public, and have it sent out via email, put it on the school website, send a text to parents to read their email, and do a robocall saying all these things. Because the next day, the other component of it that was just awful was the fact that the kids had rumors going around about the kid. And the kid was in my class. And actually, I had a student say, and was this kid in your class, Ms. L? And I'm like, you know, what can I say? So they already heard he was taken out of my classroom. And then it went, the kind of weapon it was changed in every single, you know, throughout the whole day. I think it would help if we can please have building administration have the power to communicate with the public, with the staff or whatever. It doesn't mean that you have to give all the nitty-gritty details. But you can't, and you don't even have to say who the kid is, but you can say a student was found with a blah blah in their, you know, on them, and it was handled by security, you know, in the way that any press release would be handled. If you have further questions, please call da-da-da-da-da, and then have the district PR office, and then the district PR office is the people that deal with the media.
And
I want to speak for a second. We don't know what's going on.
Right, I was saying too.
We don't. When there's something really going on, we have no
We
idea.
had a whole bomb threat at our building at East. All we know is we said evacuate the building.
Ms. Lane?
I know some school districts use, I believe it's crisis code.
That's what he's talking about.
Some kind of app where you can like push it all out to teachers all at once, so that everyone can be on alert at the same time. So like instantaneously, hey, be on the lookout, you know, whatever. But there's apps, I'm not sure if it's Power School or there's other ways you can utilize what you already have, but there's ways to push it out to teachers.
Okay, and it's called what?
Crisis code.
I think you can probably do it through the home app, through the home access center.
I've used Crisis Go in another district, but that was years ago. I'm sure they're updated, but I'm sure we have our own internal way of pushing that out as well.
So again, I think, Sam, where we're at is based on what Debbie said. I think where we're at is, Debbie looked at the policy. So we know that there's some requirements in the policy.
Right.
But we're talking about the plan, because her question is, how are we making sure that we are compliant with the policy? So I think it's difficult for us to look at these things without talking about what is the plan gonna be, but what I'm hearing is the plan has not been looked at in a number of years. So there needs to be a committee within the school that is looking at updating the plan, and then they can bring it to this committee, and then we can go from there in terms of looking at that and making sure that it's compliant with this and compliant with the school code. So I think that what we've done is make a lot of work for these people, but that's what they get paid for, right? It's hard for us to talk about it without knowing what has been done or what hasn't been done.
Because we read the policies, but well, I'm just reading and it says, and we will follow this plan, and I'm like, well, what's the plan? You know, we will do this, or it's supposed to be 3 times a year, and that's fine if it's 3 times a year, but then who's responsible for ensuring that it gets done, that it's implemented, and if it's not implemented, then what's the consequence?
Well, I also want to say it really surprises me that in a district like this, that something like school safety as it relates to gun violence has not been at the top foremost, because our children are exposed to weapons in this community, because you can just go down there from the Heights and get you a gun right down the road here. And so it's astonishing to me that there hasn't been more emphasis to ensure the safety of our staff, our students, you know, and the people that are in our district in terms of that. But again, there's no point in us talking about what didn't happen. We need to talk about how it's going to happen.
We would just go in a lot of us would go in our room and lock our doors.
But here's the thing about that, because I've been at West, some doors don't lock.
Right?
Some doors, I have been in classrooms where that door did not lock. So, you know.
We would go in our room and lock our doors.
I've been researching this thing called Smart Pass. which I think will help our school a lot. They're using it in Morton High School, so I give you an example. Gay and I got into a fight 2 weeks ago. So I go to my teacher and I said, well, can I just go to this? And my friends have told me, meet up in the bathroom because we're gonna fight. So I go to my teacher and I say, Miss Daphne, I need to use the bathroom really bad. Miss Daphne goes in to look at SmartPass, and SmartPass will tell her, no, Gay is already in the bathroom. You can't go to the bathroom right now. So when she comes back to the bathroom, I have to wait. So when she comes back to the bathroom, then I can go out. So it's called SmartPass. And it reduces the number of incidents in your hallways because it tracks everything that the students are doing. It controls.
It's like a scan.
Who updates it when the student leaves the room? The teacher?
I'm not sure because it's still researching, but it increases.
Oh, yeah, that's a
It
whole
increases student safety.
That's my fault.
Okay.
Thank you, Drill.
So it increases emergencies. It identifies what students are in the hallways, and I think this is very, very important because students, they meet up in the hallway because we're gonna go get high in the bathroom. So I call Gay and say, Gay, come on, let's go get high in the bathroom. So this is what they do. So we go, we get high in the bathroom, we go bake, we go smoke, whatever. But SmartPass will solve it because Gay and I, it's gonna be a red alert. Oh no, Gay and Susan.
As long as
cannot
all
be
of
in the
you
hallway
and your
at the
co-teachers
same
are
time.
watching it. So that, so sometimes you can have all these great stuff in place, but if it's not being implemented, it doesn't matter, right?
No,
I'm not gonna, the cell phone is a raffle.
They're using it in one high school.
Jarrell, David and I worked on cell phones. I'll talk about that.
So that's what.
Okay, so we need to get to Margarita for about 2 minutes, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
But we have to do that, you forgot the attendance.
Yeah, we're not gonna get to
Okay, so here we go. I know we all said that cell phones are a rabbit hole. I want you to, okay,
got 2 minutes.
all right, I'm trying to do this as quickly as I can. So the first thing is what I shared with Sandra last week was the Plainfield updated cell phone policy. When you consider the fact that we have a generation of high school students who were born when the iPhone was invented and they have grown up holding these in their hands since they were baby, and this was the electronic babysitter for them, we now, I feel like this, what I like about this policy is it is emphasizing cell phone etiquette over just having that cell phone out. So if you have a cell phone out and let's say the kid has it like that, you know, don't make it a big power struggle, and it's taking that power struggle out of the kid, out of the teacher and the kid. It can be that, you know, you have to just teach the kids, put your phone away, put your phone wherever. If you need to collect a phone for a test, fine, you know, whatever you have to do. But the one thing is that it's just not making that big deal out of a phone. And then it's just basically stating what phone usage will get you in trouble for. The only thing that Jarrell and I both said is that we should probably put down specifically what are school hours so that kids know when they can and can't be making phone calls or FaceTime. That's it. You know, and we would also probably put on texting or whatever. But basically, Plainfield allows the kids to make those calls or whatever they need to do in the hallways, during passing periods, in the cafeteria, during lunches, etc. And the one thing is that maybe I'm bad, but I mean, I just basically tell kids, hey, if you need to make a call or your parent is calling you, just step outside my classroom. We're all human. And I have never had an issue. I've not had an issue in either one of the buildings I was in, Lou, without that, okay? Now, the second thing was the dress code. So Jarrell and I looked at this. This is a diagram that came with me from District 206 that I offered to Sandra as well.
What's District 206?
That's Bloom Township, Chicago Heights, Ford Heights, Sauk Village, way south suburb, in the very south suburbs. So there are some things that I would adjust to this, like things that we said is we need to get more specific. So like, for example, undergarments should be covered. Now that way we take out sports bras, underwear, and anything else that people think that they need to expose. Genitalia should also be covered. That way everybody's wearing underwear and we are safe with that one. Trust me, I've had kids that went commando. Not here, but in my 23 years of experience. Ripped jeans, what we thought we should do is we should have rips be no higher than, say, like mid-thigh or something like that. Or if it's going to be a higher rip, you know, then put tights or leggings or something underneath it. Because sometimes kids wear ripped jeans and the rips are all going up here. We have to also just make teachers cognizant of what they are wearing too, because sometimes I have seen teachers wear ripped jeans to school, and I'm not going to get into who or what or whatever, and I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. I'm just saying what I have seen. We also just need to specify what other body parts need to be covered. Is that chest, buttocks, belly buttons, midriffs, shoulders, backs? They should all be covered. If we specify that, that will eliminate the spaghetti strap issue. It eliminates the aspect of our girls, people, because there is that aspect of things about the girls. The only thing Jarrell has given me some guidance, and I would like to get guidance on this, and that's head coverings. Hats and head coverings, because sometimes I know our kids wear hats in the hallways, and I'm somebody who's like, oh my God, my parents would never have let me go out with a boy who came into my house wearing a hat. But the other thing, though, too, is that there are teachers who say, well, let them wear them because is it interfering with the learning? Well, it just, I mean, there's just certain things. The other thing, too, is we do have girls sometimes who come in wearing bonnets, or we have boys who are coming in wearing their do-rags, and I know that that is something about their hair. And so, you know, I basically, you know, I have said to the kids, I said, did you not have time to do your hair? No, okay, and then I just say to them, go to the bathroom, take care of it. I just don't want to create, you know, what I'm trying to do is figure out ways that we can help teachers not turn things into a power struggle with kids. The other thing, too, is that there was a podcast I sent Jarrell because I just came across it. And in this podcast, they actually did talk about dress code at one particular, at a middle school in Washington, D.C. And one of the things that they found was that students of color were disciplined for dress code more often than their white counterparts because it was all about the racial stereotypes that they had. So this is how Jarrell and I are trying to do this. We're trying to be equitable. We're trying to make sure that we take stereotypes out of it. And then the other thing too is instead of having, you know, to send kids home or change or have somebody bring it, how about having PE uniforms or old polo shirts from the old uniform days, or have even people from the community donate clothing like school appropriate pants or school appropriate jeans, something you're no longer wearing. And then that could be distributed by distributed by a dean's office or something. Proviso West sweatshirt, Proviso East sweatshirt, Proviso West polo, something. And that would, and you know, and like the gym uniform sweatpants could work. So,
but let me ask you this. Firstly, I think you have to be very careful with the dress code policy. Okay, you do. You want to make it as minimal as possible because it certainly can be questioned. You talk about headpieces. There are people who wear that for religious purposes.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way: religion is.
Yeah, but you know, some of that is just fashion and what teenagers do. And my question to you is, I have to go back to what some teachers say. Does it hamper their ability to learn? I'm just saying, I just think that, I mean, we just got a lot of other, I just need the kids to learn how to read.
Yeah, so with dress codes, there's got to be some type of order in your school. It can't just be because this way is order in your house, the kids don't like order in school, the kids don't like hats, hoods, but the thing is we have a dress code policy out there that's plain, set, and clear. The thing is it's just not being enforced. We understand people who wear headpieces, they know from whatever religion or they doctor or whatever. But as far as hoodies and all that, the teachers don't allow you in their classroom. If that's their rules, you have lockers, go put those things up. Because I don't want you sitting up in my classroom with hoodies and hats. So we enforce, I know when I was working at East, we enforced it.
Yeah.
But 2 or 3, but it's not being enforced as a whole.
Right.
If I tell, wait 1 second, if I tell a student, you can't wear slides, because first of all, in the policy, it's a hazard.
Yes.
It's a hazard.
Gotta wear
So you
shoes.
can't wear slides. The left stop, they go behind a ankle. So they'll run over to the principal. Oh, they can keep them on.
Right,
When you
right.
don't make it constantly across the board,
But
you're
it's
not gonna never
No, I
get.
agree with
you don't
you.
wanna
That's
get
all.
to.
particular, you
And
can't do this, but you
But
can't do
it's got to
that.
be like that.
No,
It's gotta
no,
be.
no, it has to be what it is.
Yeah.
No, your body should be covered.
Right.
Yeah,
You
okay,
mean
you
follow
should
the
not-
policy,
right,
everybody be
you know, it
consistent.
doesn't
I
matter.
don't
Right,
You mean
My-
everybody
my
should be
issue
covered.
is-
Everybody be
As a
consistent. Everybody said the
teacher,
same
Your body
thing.
should be covered.
Right.
As a teacher, I would get no support if I
Yeah,
tried
yeah,
to
and that's the
enforce
thing. So
the
you
dress
just-
code.
you give up.
No, and then on the cell phone, it is a big issue in the classroom.
It is.
It's an enormous issue in the classroom. I'm not saying this should be the policy in my classrooms, and I'm very low key about it. If your phone's out, it goes in you remember the old lunch paper bag?
Yeah.
I would put it in a lunch paper, you know
That's,
this.
and that's,
No, till the end of class. It would be on their desk, I didn't take their phone.
right.
If they wanted to go to the bathroom, their phone had to be on their desk in that paper bag, so they didn't walk the halls and text.
And that's,
No,
and that's.
no, so I'm not saying that should be the policy.
No.
But the biggest issue as a teacher I get is, I get no support.
No support. And that's the thing, and don't tell me about distraction, because I have two sons. I mean, they grown now, but they was in high school, and they bring your parent to school day, and even back then, before they went to uniforms, I sat there and I was like, my son hormones is kicking, he's at that age, and you got a little girl sitting in front of him half dressed, he can't focus no way. Cause he's all looking at this little young girl with her boobs out and her stomach, y'all probably imagine, oh, what can I do, what, you know what I'm saying?
If it was up
So
to me,
it's still
we'd have uniforms.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
it was up to me, we'd have
And
uniforms.
then I don't know why they did away with uniforms, we fought so hard for
Oh,
uniforms.
they were.
They were.
They were.
Yes, they were.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they were.
We
They were.
enforced.
They were enforced.
Wait a minute. At West, they were enforced.
Because we used to be
They let their kids get away with
I went there a lot of times. They
We used to
were
go to
enforced.
cafeteria.
They wore uniforms.
Yes, they
So,
were.
You either have.
Guys,
I'm going to wrap this up. Our next one will be solely on absenteeism and truancy and attendance. Those are the three things we are going
Those
to,
are important.
yes.
Yeah, that's.
It is always.
So we're gonna
last-
get the truancy reports from whoever's gonna be providing them before we talk about that.
The last is gonna be the last Monday, we decided the last Monday of every month.
Okay.
So that would be the. Is that the 25th? Of September? Of September.
25th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ms. Dixon?
Yes, sir.
Just to kind of help guide the committee, and I'm not sure
Yes.
if we've done this in the district in the past, but I did reach out to the Illinois Association of School Board Officials to hopefully get on their listserv with the press updates. So most school districts in Illinois subscribe to that. I don't believe 209 subscribes, but I will get us on as soon as possible. And so it's what is it? It's press updates. And what they do is they provide quarterly updates of all consistent Illinois school board policies. And so their recommendations, and they've been vetted by legal teams, but you should still vet it through our own legal team, as well. But you can choose to change your policy, update, make an edit, or take the press recommendation for the new updates. And they do this every 3 months. So we can maybe start a continuous review cycle, and we can do that quarterly. So what I can do is I can attach the press update, and I can give you our current policy, and then any supporting documents that you may need to look at that update. So hopefully moving forward, you'll have more information so we can make more informed decisions about it.
I would recommend, when I took over a school board that had a bunch of old policies, if I brought IASB in, it took us a year to go, it took us a year of meetings
Yes.
to go through our entire policy. It was redrafted entirely by IASB, right, which meant that it was up to date, and of course they did the updates. But because they wrote our policy, when the updates came in, it was very easy to integrate those updates into the policy that they had written.
Correct.
They do a very good job at doing that, and the price that they charge you is really, really
It's nominal,
reasonable
yeah, it is.
in terms of what you get. And so at the end of the day, it gave us an up-to-date board policy. Now, of course, it was reviewed by our legal team
Yes.
after they finished it, but our legal team found nothing that they could argue with in terms of that. So, I mean, because your policies, some of them date back to 2009, some of them haven't been updated since 2010, and it's all kind of piecemeal. So maybe if you start off with a clean slate, it would really be helpful to everybody.
Because then as we go, those updates dictate whether they're required.
Right.
Because they will say required or recommended, you know.
And it was really helpful to have them lead these, we had these kinds of meetings, and we had community people and administrators and teachers, and it helps because IASB started from policy number 1, and they led the entire discussion, and then, you know, at that time they could, yeah, so it just might be easier, right? Because we're going from one policy, we're kind of jumping from, we didn't talk about the dress code tonight, we didn't talk about the home policy. It takes a lot.
If we go section by section.
Right, if we go section by section, right.
And can I just make one suggestion?
Not like that.
All I would think is that we just need to also make sure that we train teachers. We have so many teachers who have less than 5 years of experience coming into the district. I think that something like, you know, Lou presents on how I handle cell phones in my classroom or some of these disciplinary things, it would help because when you have young teachers are the ones who do get into these power struggles with the kids, and when you don't, you know, and that's one of the other things that I think needs to be there. And also how to help teachers, you know, address dress code issues. A lot of times teachers don't address something because they don't want to deal with it or they don't know how to deal with it.
Dr. Carvalho, I have a friend who works at the Chicago Teachers Union. Her name is Tara Stam. She's the first district commissioner, meaning she is the commissioner for the area that we service. She ran for multiple years a program at a Chicago's Teachers Union, which was a mentoring program for all teachers who were under 5 years, right? And it was a very successful program, and the new teachers appreciated it because they were paired with senior teachers, and that was how they were learning how their classroom management skills. So, and actually, it was funded. It was funded by a state grant. Her name is,
What's the program called, do you know?
because We Care is different than that. It's now been changed to We Care, but I forget, I'll find out for you. I'll give Tan the information.
New teacher cohort, that would be great. They have mentors assigned to you.
Yeah, and.
Whether you're a new teacher in the district or whether you're a new teacher, period.
Yeah, this one was all within the Chicago Public Schools.
Because I work in Chicago Public Schools, so that's what I'm saying, it's not in the teacher cohort.
We do now have,
I'm not new to teaching, but I'm new to that CPS, so they have a mentor assigned.
Right, right. So, I mean, I'm just saying, because I think I don't think that this district is unique in that respect. I think that all districts are struggling with new teachers, because, you know, nobody want to teach no more. Rightfully so, you don't get paid for taking your life in your hands. There's a lot of reasons, but I think that it's not unique to District 209.
But it's just important, yeah, and then one of the reasons why is because the young teachers don't feel empowered. You know, let's face it, they really need to have, I became a better teacher when I went to Bloom Township, honestly, because of the fact that they had a clear discipline and behavior modification plan.
Oh, I didn't sign in.
That they had, so that really helped as well. And so when I learned how to talk to kids that way, and I also had a kid of my own at that point too, but that actually helped me be a better teacher. When I went to West and I came back to PMSA, I can say I became a better teacher.
Well, you learn from your peers.
Oh, yes.
And you get to watch your peers model behavior as a teacher.
Right.
And that should help. We know the teachers who model good behavior, right? So, I mean.
And we know the teachers that are consistent about, you know, enforcing their own classroom training.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out.
So next meeting, Monday, September 25th.
Yes.
What is that? Did you sign it? Before we go, if I can apologize to the committee, I spent quite a bit of time out in the hallway because this is the beginning of the school year. And I'm just trying to get some loose ends tightened up, and I needed Mr. Bryce because he's in HR and there's sectioning going on and there's registration going on, and he's a part of it, and he's a very important component of it, so I do apologize to everybody. Please forgive me. I told LT to make sure it's in. It's not.
Oh, I found this in.
I just wanted to make sure.
I found this in.
He was going to go to East, get the,
Welcome back.
bring it to West. And how that was to make sure.
Okay.